Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sentinel Sports Extra, Cleveland Guardians Weekly Report. No analytics here. I'm Tim Shirer, and we're going to review last week for the Guardians and preview this week. We will review last week, as ugly as it was, but we'll review it. I really think that if you really look back at the 6 games against the Marlins and the Braves, the pitching was bad in 3 of the 6. It wasn't good in 3 of the 6. And then the defense against the Braves was terrible. Okay. The entire weekend, the defense against the Braves was just god-awful. And let's be honest, the Braves are good. They are, and Tom Hamilton said it on the radio, I believe Saturday night, maybe even Sunday afternoon. I can't remember. This might be the worst or the best bad team he's ever seen. You know, their record was bad coming into the weekend. You know, they entered the East, but they definitely were not having a year that most people thought they would have. They have had some pitching problems, lots of pitching injuries. But their pitching, wasn't that bad against the Guardians. Of course, people will say, "Oh, the Guardians are a terrible hitting team anyway," so no wonder. But those people are never happy anyway. But they entered the weekend 15 games under 500, and they left here. They're now 12 under. So that was ugly. That game against the Marlins. The one they lost, I had to go outside for something. They had tied the game 4-4 on the Gabriel Arias home run. And I believe by the time I got back into the house, someone came to by the house. So it was that was terrible. The bullpen collapsed that night. Gavin Williams didn't have it. That was his first start since the near no-hitter, and that happens a lot. But then the bullpen usually comes back and helps, but no, it did not. And they lost that game. They won 2 out of 3 against the Marlins. They got swept by the Braves. They went 2-4 for the week. I said they needed to go 5-1. I predicted they would go 4-2. So once again, I was wrong. I think I've only been right like 3 weeks this year out of, I think we're in week. I think this week is the 20th week of the season now. So out of 19 weeks, I think I've been right 3 times. So that's not very good. But the team enters tonight 63-60, just 3 games over 500 again now. They are 8.5 games behind the Tigers, 7 in the loss column. Let me look. Here, let me look that up. Let's see. They are, still 7 in the loss column. So the Tigers have played 3 more games than the Guardians. So there is, a little hope there. Still, 8.5 is a lot. Getting swept does not help. And they swept who they played over the weekend at the same time. So that did not help. But the 3.5 back in the wild card behind the Yankees. That really stinks. They swept the Cardinals over the weekend, so that really hurt. 3.5 back behind them. The Guardians have to get back on track this week. They have to have a good week this week. They cannot have another bad week or it's over. Let's just be honest. It's over if they have another bad week. We'll be looking toward next year. The run differential took a hit. It was down to minus. It had gone down quite a bit. It was down to minus 19, I think minus 18 at one point. Now it's back up to minus 34. They're 5-5 in their last 10, and they lost 3 straight. So I think more than anything this weekend against the Braves is the Braves got hits when they needed them. The Guardians did not get hits when they had opportunities, when they had men on base. Also, the Guardians' defense this weekend was disgusting. It was. I've seen some mighty teams that play better defense than that. And, that's pretty bad. But it was terrible defense. There's no excuses. And I'll tell you, I'll give Stephen Vogt this. Even he was not happy after the game yesterday. He was disgusted. He wasn't making any excuses yesterday after the game. And I will give him credit for that because I've got on him a lot for making excuses. But he was not making any excuses yesterday. And I think that they got to fix that. I don't know how they're going to fix it, but they got to fix it. They go to Arizona. Look, these two teams, Arizona and Texas, are under 500, but they're not terrible. Texas is only 2 games behind the Guardians in the wild card race. So, they're going to be playing for something. That's a team that's ahead of them. They're going to want to win. They won a World Series 2 years ago. This Texas team is not terrible either. And who they play in that World Series, the Diamondbacks. They've kind of cleaned house, but still, they are, they're not terrible either. People who really don't pay attention, as the young people like to say, the casuals, think that the Braves were bad. That's real smart. And they probably think the Diamondbacks are bad. They think the Rangers, they're not terrible teams. So just because they're under 500 does not mean they're terrible. But the series will start tonight in Arizona. The Diamondbacks are 60-65. They're 11.5 back in the American League West, which is kind of surprising too. You'd think that American League West first place would be better. It's not the Dodgers. So that's kind of surprising too. Well, the Dodgers are back in first. They did sweep the Padres over the weekend, so they're back in first. But so they're 11.5 back of the Dodgers. They're 6.5 back in the wild card race. They have a plus minus. They're plus. They're plus 5. You may say, well, plus 5. Well, that's better than minus 34, right? 6-4 in their last 10, and they lost 3 straight. But they're 30-30 at home at Chase Field, so it's not that they're they're 500 at home. So the games are at 9:40, and then Wednesday afternoon at 3:40 Cleveland time. So and then they have the day off on Thursday. They travel to Texas, and they face the Rangers, who are 62-63. They're 1 game under 500, okay? So they're not bad. Don't tell me they're bad. They might be average, but they're not bad. And they have players on their team that won World Series just 2 years ago. So let's not plus they have Jacob deGrom. Excuse me. And if he's healthy, watch out. So they are 7.5 games back in the American League West, 7.5 behind the Astros, 5.5 out of the wild card race. Like I said, 2 behind the Guardians. They are a plus 50 in run differential, so they can hit the ball. They've always been able to hit the ball, the Rangers. They've always been able to. It's as far back as I can remember. But they're 2-8 in their last 10. They did win on Sunday. So they've been struggling a little, but they won yesterday. So, all it takes is 2 more wins to have a win streak going, and, they're capable of it. They are good at home. They are good at home. They are bad on the road, but they are good at home. They are 37-26 at home. So they play much better at home than they do on the road. Those games will be at 8:05 on Friday, 7:05 on Saturday, and 2:35 on Sunday. 11:35 in the morning, Texas. That's the heat, try to get it over with. That's 1:35 in Texas. That's crazy. A Sunday afternoon game in Texas is woo. But they're inside now, so it's different. But the numbers are ugly for the series last week. If you look at it, against the Marlins, they won the series 2-1, but they were outscored 20-17. And then against the Braves, really ugly. They got swept. They were outscored 17-5 in the 3 games. They didn't even average 2 runs a game. I don't need analytics to tell me that was bad. Okay. The old eye test, that told me that was bad. All right. So we will hope that they play better this week. If they play better defensively, I'm going to say this. If they play better defensively, they'll take 2 out of 3 in both places. But if they play bad defense again, they could come home and having gone 1-5, 2-4, and be out of the race. And we'll be talking about next year. We'll be talking about what they need, But what they did not need this year, and I said it the day it happened, and I've harped on it all year. And I'm going to say it right now. The sending Tyler Freeman to Colorado for Nolan Jones, I think the worst trades that this team has made in the last 30 years. I think it is. Not because Tyler Freeman's playing well in Colorado, but because Nolan Jones is god-awful. Okay? He's terrible. These great talent evaluators in the organization didn't think he was good enough a couple years ago, so they traded him away. Here they trade back for him, and what do they get? They said they traded for him because they needed a power bat in right field. Nolan Jones' statistics this year are the team has played 123 games. He's played in 102, 108. He is hitting .212. Okay? His OPS is .606. His slugging percentage is .297. He has hit 3 home runs in 328 plate appearances and driven in 28 RBI and struck out 89 times. At this point last year, through August 18th, John Kenzie Noel had come up. This is who he took at bats from. This is who Nolan Jones took at bats from. This is who the Guardians organization thought was a better move. Nolan Jones. They thought he was could be more of a consistent power hitter than John Kenzie Noel. They thought it was smart to platoon John Kenzie Noel with Nolan frickin' Jones. Okay? So we just gave you the numbers. He's played 108 games. He's got 3 home runs, 28 RBI. 35 games at this point last year on August 18th. Through 35 games for John Kenzie Noel. And a hell of a lot less plate appearances than Nolan Jones has had this year. John Kenzie Noel had 9 home runs, 17 RBI, and was hitting .242, 30 points higher than Nolan Jones. But they cast John Kenzie Noel aside for Nolan frickin' Jones. There it is right there, people. There it is right there. Okay? That's it right there. That's why this team is not as good this year. They made one of the worst trades they have made in 30 seasons. Getting Nolan Jones back. It was a terrible trade. I didn't like Nolan Jones the first time he was here. I like it. They are 9 games worse than they were last year at this point. On August 18th last year, they were 72-52. They played 1 game less this year. They are 9 games worse. I'm telling you something. If they had been smart enough to stick with John Kenzie Noel and give him the right field job out of spring training, he'd have 30 home runs by now. I'm telling you he would. Yeah, he might have struck out already 150 times. But he'd have 30 home runs, and I'll tell you, they're driven in more than 28 RBI too. But they thought they would platoon and screw with everything and pay more attention to analytics than common sense. And they blew it. They screwed it up. All of these Harvard guys, all of these Ivy League guys in the front office didn't see it right in front of their faces that you play John Kenzie Noel every day. They screwed him over. They platooned him. They traded a good clubhouse guy, Tyler Freeman, for an absolutely terrible baseball player. He's not good defensively. He's terrible offensively now. Nolan Jones. And this is where we are. 3.5 games out of the third wild card spot and 8.5 games behind in the division. When last year at this point, last year on August 18th, they had a 2-game lead in the division. You make a stupid trade like the Nolan Jones trade, and this is what happens. You go backwards. You go backwards. Not to mention Tanner Bibby's been terrible this year too. He's been god-awful. God-awful. That the word ace should never be used in the same sentence as Tanner Bibby again, unless he turns it around completely. I can't believe they gave him this long-term extension, and now he stinks. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that can't, there's not really much more to go over on that. I think that I pretty much said it on every show this whole year that it was a terrible trade. They should have never reacquired Nolan Jones. I don't think they should have. I just don't think they should have. It's bad. It was a bad move. And let's be honest, and I'm not going to insult him like some of these younger people do on Twitter. And I said it when it happened too. They probably shouldn't have reacquired Carlos Santana. I would have been okay if they didn't. I would have been okay if they gave, Noel the everyday job, or Manzardo the everyday job at first. And Noel could have played right field and DH'd. And then, Tyler Freeman could have played right field. Or Angel Martinez could have come up. But no, they screwed that up by trading Tyler Freeman. But I don't know. There's nothing we can do now, right? We can hope that they can play well the last 39 games and maybe get a wild card spot, because they're not winning the division now. I had hopes, but they're not winning the division now. You can't get swept in August. At the time they're 5.5 out, you can't get swept and then fall to 8.5 out and think you're going to win the division. We're not talking about the Cubs of the late 60s. We're not talking about the 1985 or 87 Blue Jays. Those teams collapsed. I don't think the Tigers are going to do that. So it's a wild card now. And you know what? You can't let the Yankees gain 3 games when they're already ahead of you. You can't let them gain 3 games in 1 week. That's big. That's really big. So they got to get back on track this week. 4-2, 5-1. It can't be anything less than that this week. There just can't be anything less than that. It has to be at minimum 4-2 this week, at minimum. And you're probably not going to gain any ground if you go 4-2. So I guess at this point, you're trying not to lose ground and maybe pick up one every couple weeks. I don't know. They put themselves in a bad spot, playing absolutely god-awful, not pitching well, not hitting well, and playing disgusting defense. And now they put themselves in this hole for the rest of the year. So we have to see what happens. But I'm going to hopefully be wrong again with my prediction for the record for this week. I'm going to say that they're going to go 3-3 for the week. And hopefully I'm wrong on the right, hopefully I'm too low. But I'm going to say they're going to go 3-3 this week. One of the places they'll go 1-2, and the other they'll go 2-1. So that's my picks for this week against the Diamondbacks and the Rangers. But that's going to be it until next Monday when we talk again. Hopefully we have better news. Next Monday. The weekend was rough. There's no sugarcoating it. I'm not going to be like the media with the Browns. There's no sugarcoating how bad that weekend was. It was a bad weekend. It's not over, but it was a bad weekend that it hurts their chances. But we'll see what happens. Let's see what it says. I'll check one more thing. Let's see what it says that their chances are, because they always have it listed. Their percentage, they still have, they have a 10.8% chance of making the playoffs. That's not good. So this weekend did it. I mean, that's it. This is a terrible weekend. So let's hope next Monday when we meet here, it was a better weekend and a better week. So until next Monday, I hope everyone has a great week. And go Guardians.